বুঝতে পারছিলাম। Good afternoon, dear participants. We welcome you all on the fourth day of National Level Research Conclave, organized by Center for Management Studies, Jane Dean to be University. Today, we will be having two sessions, one session from 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. by Dr. Devarshi Upadhyay, and another session by our research coordinator, Dr. Varsha Agarwal, on discriminant analysis and cluster analysis between 3:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. So we welcome you all. We request you to keep your videos on and have a great learning experience. We will start sharp at 2 p.m. Thank you. Dear participants, we'll be starting in a couple of minutes. So please be there, get your stuffs, and have a great learning experience. We'll be starting in a couple of minutes. Keep your cameras and videos on, and please do not forget to fill your feedback form at the end of the session. Thank you. A very good afternoon, dear participants. We welcome you all one more time on day 4 of our national level research conclave organized by the Research Cell Center for Management Studies, chain deemed to be university. Hope for the last 3 days you have an enriching learning session. Today will not be an exception. Today, we will be having our next esteemed speaker, Dr. Devarshi Upadhyay, who will be presenting on measurement of scales with importance in applied research. To have a brief introduction of Dr. Devarshi, I would request Professor Akama to take over. Akama, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Vaishakhi ma'am. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you all for our third day of Research Conclave. Now it's time to welcome our speaker for today, Dr. Devarshi Upadhyay, who is going to talk to us about the measurements of scales and importance in applied research. Before we move forward, I would like to speak about our sir's achievement. So Dr. Devarshi Upadhyay is an experienced assistant professor with a demonstrated history of working in the higher education industry. So is skilled in intelligent tutoring system, business planning, operation management, analytical skills, and Microsoft Office. He has a strong and fit portfolio of commerce and management from reputed University of State of Gujarat, PhD in management and commerce. MBA in finance, MCom, BCom, double graduation with major in advanced accountancy and advanced statistics. He is currently working as an assistant professor in Faculty of Management, GLS University, Ahmedabad. His area of expertise include operations and supply chain management, security analysis and portfolio management, financial service, banking and insurance, research methodology, foreign exchange market, entrepreneurship development, and many more in this area of general management, commerce, and finance. He is well acquainted with the research methodologies, using the existing scales and creating new scales for using the research analysis, and is comfortable in using SPSS tool and our software to perform analysis. He has published more than 45 research papers in journals and national and international repute. He has co-authored 3 books in the subject of commerce and management. He also possesses a keen interest in research and consultancy in the domain of behavioral finance, financial engineering, managing technology and innovation, research, resource management, corporate social responsibility, ethics, accountability, business strategy development, and finance optimization. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce you, sir. Welcome once again. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, all. Good afternoon, all, once again. I've been really happy to be a part of this research and data analysis conclave. First of all, I would just like to have that I'm audible to you, and my technical abilities are perfect, right? Is there any technical glitches in terms
Yes.
of audio,
Yes, sir.
video, and screen is
You're
visible
very
to you,
much
right?
audible.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. So I've been really happy to be a part of this conclave because I've been really like I joined for a couple of times in the Jain University for different purpose. I mean, be it as a conclave, be it as a workshop, be it as a conference, and whatnot and whatnot. So today's very good day for me that I'll be presenting on the given topic on measurement of scales and importance in applied research. Technically speaking, it's very important topic, having just so much scope and having the importance in research basically because it's one of the very foundation phase, very technically speaking, it's very basic phase, and fundamentally, if I speak so. Researcher and academic fraternity, they are literally having vouched that this particular topic will be so important in terms of further research of scope. So I really fortunate to be having in on this board on this day. Uh, I'm just having the okay. So before starting my session, before starting my topic, that is on scale of measurement, I'll be just talking on a very great note, on a very great quote that is by, I mean, I don't know what that is, but research is a journey, not a destination. As rightly mentioned by a lot of research scholars, because I'm into a lot of networks into being academic fraternity. So a lot of scholars, lot of educationists, and lot of faculty members, they usually do their PhD. They usually publish a lot of research papers. They author a lot of books. They participate in a lot of academic projects and so on and so forth. but it is not a destination, it is an ongoing process. So first of all, research is a journey, not a destination. So you need to keep growing. So do a lot of research. Research is a never-ending process for any academic task or a non-academic task. Now, meaning of research. Starting of this session, this one of the theme of this conclave, that is research on a very prima facie, on a very highlighted topic of research. So, what is the meaning of research first of all? So, having a lot of definitions on a very avid, very having the fruitful definitions in all of the textbook, reference book, and all the reading materials that is available to you guys. But research is for me, and as far as me is concerned, I usually take it over as a read and search. Already you have the details, you have the information, you have the data, you have the information, you have the all the things that is with you in this 21st era. But you need to just research. Already the data is given to you, the information is given to you, the concept is given to you, but you just need to do a lot of research on the given topic. So ultimately the data is with you, and you just need to carry it out in a such a way that the research can be utilized and can be beneficial for all. Research process, most important and one of the very foundation phase, foundation topic or a foundation thing to be considered, because a lot of faculties, a lot of education into the same field, and education fraternity, they usually do a lot of research, but they know on a very good ground as a data analysis tool. They are having very much keen interest, having a very good like hands-on on the how to use a lot of softwares, be it as SPSS, R, and SQL, and so and so forth. But the point is that the foundation phase, the detailed thing or the sequential process, they do not know. I mean, really very sorry to say, but this is very technical, this is very foundation having the research process. Be it as a first point or a first step of the research is a field of interest. Most important thing, because a lot of students, a lot of scholars, when I take a lot of interviews, be it is in the PhD vivas and the defense viva and so on, they are having the interest in be it as a finance, but they do research in marketing. They are having the interest in marketing, they are doing the research in the production management or in the operation management. They're having the interest in HR, and they are having the research in any other field. Point is that first identify your field of interest, first identify that what you want to do. After that, the second point, identification of the problem. Most important, because research is always been into driven with the problem. So if you don't identify or if you don't sense the proper problem, you won't be you'll be failing, or you won't be carrying the perfect grounded research in the next upcoming further course of action. So first and foremost thing, that is the identification of the problem, be it as a research problem, be it as any kind of a data problem, be it as information problem, be it as an objective problem, be it as a whatever the field of interest, the problem can be any of them. Third, that is a rigorous review of literature. Now, as a faculty, as a part of this education, I usually strongly believe that if you do rigorous review of literature, that is the half of the research is been done. That is, the literature review is the most important foundation, and it's the most important process of the research, because ultimately you are referring the literatures of the past authors of the whatever literature is been available to you. So the how to do literature is a very long topic to be discussed. But if I just give in a very nutshell, that is a just refer a lot of literature, that is from your textbook, that is from your journals, and always select a very good, authenticated, and the qualitative journal. Next, identifying the research gap. After identification of the problem, after identification of the lot of review of literature that you have been carried out, you need to identify the gap. Now, what is the meaning of gap? Gap is just nothing about the difference between expectation versus reality. So what is the meaning of gap? That is, what is the difference between expectation and the reality? You just need to gauge, you just need to measure, you just need to analyze that gap. And after identification of the gap, you need to plan. and you need to implement the research ideology that is a frame. Now, research ideology can be having the multiple options called as a research methodology, be it as a research methodology in terms of population, sampling plan, I mean, from the stating from the objective and so on and so forth. The list is really long based on the topic. Next, selection and the implementation of the research method. Now you have already planned, but we as a faculty, we as educationists, and we as a entrepreneur, we generally fail to implement the research ideology. You have planned, you have implemented the research ideology, but it is a time for the selection of the right tool, selection of the right method, selection of the right content is most important. So selection and the implementation of the research method is very much important point. And last, there is a next, it is a data collection. Because ultimately you are doing research, you are doing research on what? You are doing just research on the data and the information is given to you or you have gathered. So it is very much important to how to frame the questionnaire, how to frame the survey form, how to take the quantitative and how to take the qualitative data and the information is the most important thing. And I think there are the 30 to 40 percentage of the research scholar and the researcher they failed or they are failing to how to get the collect or how to get the correct data and the information. So it's very much important to how to gather data and the information on the given topic and which are the ways to find the same. Next, analysis and findings. Now, analysis and findings is such a point that everyone will be having the very keen interest. Everyone will be having the so much focused that what you have found out or what is the analysis that has been carried out. It is not about that you have carried out a lot of statistical tests, you have applied a lot of softwares, you have access, you have used a lot of statistical softwares and so on. It is not about how much hypothesis that you have framed. It is not about that which are the statistical number of statistical tools that you have implemented. It is about how you have what are your findings and what you have analyzed, because analysis and the findings will be always be into correlation with your title, with your objective, and with your research analysis. So analysis is into a very second game, and the findings is also into the also on the very second ball game is concerned. So analysis is all is like just it's just all about that which are the statistical tools or which are the tools that you have applied and what you have carried out is called as the analysis, and what you have found out. Because I've been always taking the session in the all the leading universities and the colleges across the across this country called India and also the state. But I'll be always been focusing and always be highlighting this point called as analysis, and the findings need to be so strong. That means your research analysis and your research process can be fully satisfied with the analysis and the findings. And the last and very much important and the one of the most crucial part or one of the crucial portion called as a conclusion, that what you have concluded out or what is the conclusion of this research process is concerned. So it's my very brief research process. So I have just taken it on a very just prima facie of this topic is concerned. So it is a research process in a brief. So now coming towards the given topic called as measurement of scale is concerned. So technically speaking, measurement is just a process. Just hold on, I'm having some technical glitches. Yeah. So technically speaking, the measurement is a process of mapping aspects of a domain onto other aspects of a range according to some rule of correspondence. So ultimately, if it about the very nutshell, in a very layman language, what is the meaning of measurement? So measurement is just nothing about you are gauging or you are just mapping one variable with the second variable, or you are just mapping some of the aspects or some of the factors that you have considered for your study. So measurement of scale or measurement is the most important thing, because ultimately you are having that range. You are ultimately measuring that range or the given correspondence. Now, the given correspondence may be based on your topic, based on your field of interest, based on your guide, and based on lot of other variables and lots of other factors. There is a widely used classification of the measurement scales. There are the four of the scale. The first scale is the nominal scale. Second is the ordinal scale. Next, interval scale and the ratio scale. So in the research methodology or in the subject of education for any kind of a topic that you are taking, be it as a technical, be it as a non-technical, but these are the scale is a very much important and having very much prima facie very ordinary meaning, and this is widely used on the scale across the globe. So nominal scale, ordinal, interval, and the ratio scale that we'll be taking in this session. So I have just given a very brief snapshot before starting of this topic. There is a nominal scale is just about the attributes are only named and weakest. Then ordinal scale is the attributes can be ordered, as it just name suggests, called as ordinal. Next is interval scale, that is the distance is meaningful. That means whatever the distance you are taking, that will be taking in the next topic. And the ratio is the absolute zero. Now, coming towards the first point called as a nominal scale. So, nominal scale is simply a system of assigning a number symbol to event in order to label them. So, if it about in a very generic sense, if it about very in a very simplest form, that nominal scale is just nothing about you are just giving the label of identified variable. Ultimately, you just need to give the label for identification of the proper number or a proper given sector or given instance. So it's just simply a system of assigning a numbers symbols to event in order to label them. So nominal scale provide convenient ways of keeping track of a people, objects, and events. It is just ultimately you are just giving a track of whatever the people that you have identified, which are the objects that you are taking into the consideration, and which are the events to be considered in a very long in a further course of action. So nominal scale is just nothing about this very convenient way. You are just keeping a track of people, objects, and events. So that means you are just giving the label. You are just assigning a number for two people, be it as objects and the events. So basically, nominal scale is not a real scale because it does not scale any object along any dimension, because it is not a scalable. It is not a scalable scale, because ultimately you are not gauging or you are not ultimately measuring anything with this comparison with the one variable with the another variable. So I have this for this example that one cannot usually average the numbers of the back of the group of football players and come up with the meaningful value. That means you can't make the average of the numbers of the football players, because ultimately having the players of the 11 numbers, but because ultimately you are giving the label. If it's about the football players, so football players, they have the jersey number. I mean, you can take any kind of a sport. If it's about cricket, so cricket having also have the jersey number. So point is that that particular just hold on. Yeah. So that means ultimately, if I about that, if I have the cricket team or if I have the football players, if I have the football team, so having the 11 players in the football team having the different numbers on their jersey or different numbers on their shirt or different numbers of the back of the group, that means I can't have the average, because they are having a lot of different identical different numbers on each player. So it is next to impossible that how can I create the average, because having the different numbers, having the different identical and different not also there's also not similar numbers. Okay, so that means ultimately in the nominal scale you are just giving a number for each and every players. If what about the first player having that jersey number called as 8, second player having the jersey number of 28, third player having their number called as a 30, and so on. So ultimately, the nominal scale is just assigning a number to the people, to the event, and to the consideration in the next upcoming phase. So neither can one usually compare the numbers assigned to one group with the numbers assigned to another working out, and we are used to have the labeling variables. So when you do SPSS or when you do any kind of a statistical software, you just need to label the variable, or you are just giving the you just give the numbers to each and every variables that you have identified. So nominal scale is the least powerful level of measurement because a nominal scale simply describes differences between things by assigning them to categories. So nominal data are the counted data, and nominal scale is the categorical variable because ultimately you are just giving the categories. Okay, I'm just giving you example. So the very widely used example called as gender, because gender is a nominal scale, because ultimately you are giving label or you are just giving the number or you are assigning a number with each gender. If at about example male, so for the male I have given the number called as 1, and then for the female I have given number as a 2. I mean it can be anything, but if it about in your question or in your database or whatever the data that you have collected from the different sources, let's assume you have collected 100 data, and out of 100 data, when you have identified and when you have to filter the data, you have gathered that you have the 60 male and the 40 female. So how to identify each and every gender in a very nominal scale? So those who are 60 male, you are just counting as a one number, and those who are 40 female out of 100 database, you are labeling as a two, or either or. You can also exchange the number. Point is that you are just giving the number, or you are just giving the one of the data or one of the labeling factor, that is a one and that is two for each and every gender that you identify. If we have the second example, religious affiliation. That means if I talk about again that 100 database, or again the database of 100 that you have collected. So if it was out of this 100 database, you have gathered all the information of all the basic data or all the demographic data that you have collected out. Okay, and out of this, if you want to gauge or if you want to measure that out of 100, how many belong to Catholic, how many belong to Hindu, how many belong to Jewish, and how many belong to the Muslim religious affiliation. So if you have the data collected, if what about the 25 each, so for the 25 Catholic, you will be giving the number called as a one. For the another 25 of the Hindu will be you'll be assigning the number called as two. For a Jewish, you will be given three, and for Muslim, you will be giving the four. Now, point is that what we did over here, we have just assigned the number for each religious affiliation that is being carried out into demographic research or a demographic data that you have collected. So it is that means point is that in the nominal scale, you are just giving the number, you are just assigning the number of each and every variables that you have collected. So how to do analysis? In this session, I'll be always focusing. I'll be also focusing on each and every nominal scale, or each and every measurement of scale is concerned after nominal, interval, ordinal, and ratio. I'll be also giving a very brief, very nutshell meaning that how to do analysis of each and every scale into the consideration. Okay, so there are two primary ways in which nominal scale data can be collected. First, by asking an open-ended question, so the answer of which can be coded to a respective number of labels decided by the researcher. So you can give the open-ended question. If at about you have made a questionnaire and you have made a survey form, and you're just giving the open-ended question called as a gender equal to dash, or age equal to dash. So if you have to ask a question called as the gender equal to what, so in this thing, you have not given any kind of option, or you have not given any kind of multiple choice question. Okay, or you have not or you have not given any kind of a choice. So for the same, it is an open-ended question, because this question, or like this question having no kind of option, or in this question you have not given any kind of a preference. Okay, so ultimately you have just made a called as a gender equal to dash. So in this thing, that the like respondent can respond any of the variable is concerned. So be it as from male, female, and a lot of respondent can also respond that I don't want to share my gender or whatever. If what about the if like one responded that gender equal to male, so that means you have responded. Now, this gender as a response, further researcher will be labelized, or further researcher will be giving label for each and every data is collected. Okay. Next, the other alternative to collect the nominal data is to include a multiple choice question in which the answer will be labeled. So if you take in the just a previous slide, we have given the option, that is the gender equal to male and female. So either respondent can have the response based according to the same. Respondent said we have given the word choices. So you can also collect the data with the help of also multiple choice question, or called as a closed-ended question. And the third, in the both cases, the analysis of gathered data will happen using a percentage or a mode. That is the most common answer received for the question. You can also give the percentage, that means out of 100, how many percentage are male and how many percentage are female. And you can also measure with the mode, that is what is the highest repetitive number in this database of 100. That is the most common answer received for the question. It is possible for a single question to have more than one mode, as it is possible for two common favorites can exist in a target population. Next scale is the ordinal scale. It is the lowest level of the ordered scale that is commonly used. It is the ordinal scale. That means ultimately you are giving order. Means ultimately whatever the data is with you, or whatever the factors, or whatever the aspect that you have carried out, or whatever the factors that you have identified, you are just giving the order, as if this name suggests, called as an ordinal scale. So the ordinal scale places events in an order. That means from be it as in the sequential format, be it as a from top to bottom or bottom to top, be it as ascending to descending and descending to like ascending. But there is no attempt to make the intervals of the scale equal in terms of some rule. That is, number are used to place objects in order. So let's see how that ordinal scale only permit the ranking from item from highest to lowest. If what about the example? So I have just given a very small example that how would you rate the service of our wait staff. So I have just given a kind of a Likert scale question, or kind of like ordinal scale that is into the order. So if you take the first variable called as excellent, second option I have given called as a very good, third option called as a good, fourth that is a fair, and the last is what, poor. So out of these five, respondent will select only one. Okay, so that means it is into the order. And as it just name suggests, be it as a from highest to lowest, but there are a lot of literatures and there are also a lot of articles in the author. They are also telling that there can be like either or. I mean, you can always create the ordinal scale with the highest to lowest, and also lowest to highest. There are the two different school of thoughts, but again, it's based on your research, it's based on your topic that you selected. So how would you rate the service of the our rate staff that has been given to you? So ultimately the respondent will select the one, because this option is into the order. If you can see, it is from excellent to poor. That means that the excellent is on the very highest scale and the poor being to the lowest scale. So, ordinal scale data can be presented in tabular or graphical formats for a researcher to conduct a convenient analysis of a collected data. So, also methods such as Mann-Whitney U-test and crystal ball at states can be used to analyze the ordinal data, because these are the two very much, very much fond, or very much, I won't use a word called famous, but most trending and most used and most accessed taste for ordinal data. And so these methods are generally implemented to compare two or more ordinal groups. So if you have the two different data sets, or if you have the different two groups, and if you just want to compare one group with the another group, you can select Mann-Whitney U-test and crystal ball test. So in the Mann-Whitney U-test, researcher can conclude which variable of one group is bigger or smaller than another variable of a randomly selected group. So you just need to measure that which group is bigger or smaller as compared to another group. Okay, if I just give you a small example, in the class of college, in the post graduation college, in the post graduation class, let's assume there are the 60 in the class, and there are the 30 male and 30 female students are there. Okay, so if I talk about in the subject of, let's assume the subject of marketing management, uh, if I just need to measure that which group is having the highest number in the subject of marketing management, so I'll be implementing the test called as man-VTU test, because I'll be getting the information that which group having the highest mark as compared to the second group. Okay, so while in the crystal ball is at stage, a researcher can analyze whether two or more ordinal groups have the same median or not. So if you want to just measure that in which group the median value is higher or lesser, or having the which group having the equal median number or not. Next is interval scale. That is, the interval itself means that spaces in between. So if you want to identify space in terms of the option or in terms of scale, the interval scale is the most widely used. So because in this case, the interval scale, the intervals are adjusted in terms of some rule that has been established as a basis for making the units equal. So the units are equal only insofar as one accepts the assumption on which the rule is based. So ultimately, you are just measuring the information from the scale. That is, there is a fixed rule is there. If what about that, the sun will be always be the sun and moon will be always be there. It is the rule. If what about the like center of gravity rule or a gravitational, that means the, every rule is been imposed or every rule is based on the assumption. So that means the interval scale is just about that you are identifying the spaces in between of each and every factors. Okay, so interval scales are numeric scales in which we know there is not only the order but also the exact difference between the values. The beauty of this scale is that you can identify the correct difference between the values. Okay, let's see how. If what about the Fahrenheit scale? I mean, Fahrenheit scale of the any, I mean, of interval scale, and shows similarities in what one can and cannot do with it. If what about very small example, that one can say that an increase in temperature from 30 degree to 40 degree involves the same increase in the temperature as an increase from 60 degree to 70 degree. But one cannot say that the temperature of a 60 is twice as warm as the temperature of 30 degree. Okay, if I give like one more example. If what about in this summer, I mean, have the India having very scorching heat in terms of the summer is concerned. So if what about that, if what about the if I just need to measure the temperature today, or if I just need to see that what is the temperature outside over here right now. So I will just open my device, open my phone, and I will just checking that what is the weather right now. So let's assume the weather is telling about the 40 degrees Celsius. So that means the 40 degree is from what? From it is from zero. So it is from 0 to 1 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 10 to 20, 30, and 40. That means you can count that it is from zero. Okay. If what about that? If what about the yesterday itself only? If what about the yesterday temperature or the summer, it was having the heat of 38 degree. That means it is yesterday it was 38 degrees Celsius and today it is a 40 degrees Celsius. Okay, that means as compared to yesterday, today the degree has increased with the 2 degree. That means you can count. That means there is a space between 38 to 40 and 40 to 38, that is equal to 2. Point is that in the interval scale, you can identify the variables, you can identify and you can access and you can measure the difference or the space between these two variables. Okay. Next, so all the techniques applicable to nominal and the ordinal data analysis are applicable to interval data as well. So apart from those techniques, there are few analysis methods such as descriptive analysis or descriptive statistics, correlation, regression analysis, which is extensively for analyzing the interval data. So it's one of the very famous or one of the very widely used data analysis tool called as the correlation analysis and the regression, having the most widely used and widely extensively having the impact on the data that you have collected, for especially for the interval data, because interval data will be having so much emphasis on having the collection of the data is concerned, and also having the majority having a very major impact or scope or like importance in terms of your research is concerned. So, descriptive statistics is the term given to the analysis of a numerical data, which helps to describe, depict, or summarize the data in a meaningful manner. Ultimately, you are just describing the data, that what is the data that you have collected, and what is the analysis, or which are the analysis tool, or which are the descriptive statistics analysis tool that you have implemented. Ultimately, you are just describing the data that you have collected. Example, let's assume in the just class of 60, or that's of the post graduation class, or the if the students are pursuing the MBA from the different colleges. So I'm just giving you one very small example, that in the class of 60 students are there. I mean, the 30 are male and the 30 are female. So if I just need to measure the difference between the percentage, so in the semesters, if I about in the end semester examination I have conducted, and I just got the marks of each and every student of each and every subject. So if I just need to measure that what is average out, or what is the average percentage, or what is the percentage of each and every student. Okay, so after calculation, or after calculating the percentage individually, I have just gathered that what is the average out, or what is the average of a 30 male, and what is the average of 30 female. Okay, so if I have just gathered the data, I have the result. I have the result with me. That is just out of 60, the 30 are male, 30 are female. Out of 30, I have secured that the male students securing 80 percentage, and the female students are securing 82 percentage as the average. So ultimately, what I did, I have just described the data, that whatever the data I have with me, I have just described the data, that is out of 60, 80 percentage is secured by the male students, and the 82 percentage is secured by the female students. So, descriptive statistic is just the term given to the analysis of a numerical data, which helps to describe, depict, or summarize the data in a meaningful manner, and it helps to calculation of mean, median, and mode consecutively. Next, ratio scale, and the most having the impact, and the one of the very widely used and most sophisticated scale out of these three, called as ratio scale, and it's also incorporate all the characteristics of a nominal, ordinal, and interval scale. So as a result, a large number of descriptive calculations are applicable, and all the descriptive statistics, or all the statistical tools that you can apply on the data, called as a ratio scale. So ratio scale are the like ultimate nirvana when it comes to measurements and scales, because they tell us that about the order, and they tell us that exact value between the units. So and they also have the absolute zero, because if I have a good example of ratio variable are include height and weight. So that means ultimately you are just counting from zero. That if about the height of the one person is like let's say 170 centimeter. So 170 centimeter you have calculated from the zero. If about the weight, so for the weight, if about the weight is just a ratio, because it having the impact of the zero. So if I talk about the very small difference between interval scale and the ratio scale, is just about that interval scale. You are counting the space in the you are just counting, or you are just measuring the difference between the factors. But in the ratio scale, you are counting the data from the absolute zero. If what about the weight? If what about the weight, if I just need to make sure that weight of one student is 75 kilogram. So 75 kilogram I have measured, that is if what about from 72 to 73 to 74 to 75 and so on. That means the weight, that means the weight is always, and the height is always been carried out with the ratio. If what about the mass? Or if what about the percentage? So marks and the percentage is always in to be carried out from the absolute zero, because they tell us the exact value between the units. So if I was what is your weight in kgs, that is I have given the five options. There is a less than 55 kgs, second is 55 to 75 kgs, 76 to 85 kgs, then 86 to 95 kgs, and more than 95 kgs. So if you can see in this kind of option, I have given the range. I have given the range of the different kilograms of the weight is concerned. So if what about the second option, called the 55 to 75 kilogram. So in the second option, they called as a 55 to 75 kilogram. So I have given the difference of 20 kg. So I can measure, or I can access, or I can gauge the information between to 55 to 75. Let's assume if it about myself, I'm just right now weighing a 71 kilogram. I'm just giving you a very small example. Right now, if it about me, that means I'm right now weighing a 71 kilogram. So ultimately, I'll be just selecting the responses of second option called as the 55 to 75 kilogram. Point is that I have just made the calculation that right now I'm weighing at 71 kilogram. That means I'm falling into the range of a 55 to 75 kilogram. So that means I'll be selecting, or I'll be having the response on the said second option called as 55 to 75 kilogram. So at a fundamental level, ratio scale data is a quantitative in nature. So due to which all quantitative analysis techniques such as SWOT and TURF is having very much right now implication in terms of data analysis tool, and having very right now trending. I won't use the word called trending, but yes, it is widely acceptable in terms of the analysis, because TURF, I think everybody knows the meaning. So TURF is what the total unduplicated reach and frequency analysis. One of the very widely used fundamental level of research analysis of quantitative techniques, and one of the very widely used in the social science research. So next is the cross tabulation, one of my favorite, because cross tabulation having a lot of impact on the research analysis concern. Conjoint analysis and etc. can be used to calculate the ratio data. So while having some techniques such as SWOT and TURF will analyze the ratio data in such a manner that researchers can create roadmaps of how to improve products and services, and cross tabulation will be useful in understanding whether new features will be helpful to the target market or not. See, if I have just conducted a market research for a leading companies of India, and I have been into a market research industry since from I think 7 years of down the line, and I have conducted a lot of questionnaire designing. I have a lot of tool designing. I have just implemented. I have given my services to them. So when I just look into their what is their expectation, or what is their vision, or what is their objective to do the market research. So when I just gauge, or when I just tell them that what is the need, so when they tell the need, and after collection of the data, after collection of the data analysis and the conclusion of the findings, so if any company want to have the if any company have to add on that, if any new feature will be add on or not. Okay, if for a very small example, I mean very live example of before just 2 3 months of time. There's a company called OnePlus. They are manufacturing mobile devices and having a lot of electronic devices out there, having a very beautiful image, having very good image in terms of the premium phone range is concerned. So having the range from OnePlus, from 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Currently, 9 series is ongoing. If what about they undertaken a lot of research, and from one of my reference, from one of my network, I've been also been a very small integral part of this process. OnePlus 8 as a series, they are also witnessing a lot of loopholes, a lot of glitches in terms of their camera feature and camera algorithms. So in the OnePlus 8 series, from OnePlus 8, OnePlus 8T, and OnePlus 8 Pro, so they have faced a lot of issues, a lot of complaints, and a lot of redressals also from the consumer mindset, and ultimately they have identified that what is the problem in OnePlus 8 series. So OnePlus 8 series, if at about on a very common, I mean in very generic term, I'm not focusing on those who are using OnePlus product, because I'm also a fan of OnePlus products. So yeah, OnePlus having the problem was in the OnePlus 8 series in terms of camera. So the customer and the company did a lot of research on turf analysis, and they also did a lot of cross tabulations in the different segments in the different softwares, and they have identified that is whether a new feature will be helpful to the target market or not. So that in the OnePlus 9, if you can see in the OnePlus 9 and OnePlus 9 Pro in the devices, they have added a hazel blade camera. Now, Hazel Breed is a company. We are making cameras for the NASA missions, for their satellite missions. So ultimately, after having the complaints from the customers, they have added this Hazel Breed camera features, and believe me, the result is fantastic. So point is that the ratio scale is just about you can perform all the statistical analysis or the statistical tools on a very single go. So what about in a summary, that is a nominal variables are used to name or label a series of values. Ordinal scales provide a good information about the order of choices, such as in the customer satisfaction survey. So ultimately, you are giving a very small question that whether you're satisfied or not, and so on. Interval scale gives us the order of the values plus the ability to quantify the difference between each one. And the ratio scale gives the ultimate order, interval values plus the ability to calculate ratios since a true zero can be defined. So this was a very small, brief summary of all the scales that we have identified till now. Just hold on. Yeah. So next is the scoring. One of the very much also important role in terms of research is concerned, called as the scoring. So scoring has the two types, that is dichotomous and polytomous. So dichotomous are like dichotomous scoring refers to the assignment of one or two possible values based on person's performance or response to a test question. So dichotomous scoring could involve different score values besides correct and incorrect. And the most common example is scoring that represent a response of either yes or no. So if I have a very small example, did you took a vaccine of COVID-19? So be it as a yes or no. And on this outset, I'm just giving you a very small brief that please stay safe and stay secure and also safe with your family. So did you took a vaccine shot or did you took a vaccine of COVID-19? So the response of this question is only the two options. I mean yes and no. I mean yes or no, not yes and no, but yes or no. So it is about dichotomous question. I have only two options. Next, polytomous scoring. That is, the polytomous scoring simply refers to the assignment of three or more possible values for a given test question or item. So in this cognitive testing, a simple example is the use of rating scale to score written responses such as essays. So in this case, a score value may still describe the correctness of a response, but with the differing levels of correctness. For example, incorrect, partially correct, and fully correct. If what about myself, so after having this session, you will be also having the feedback in terms of your mindset, in terms of your whatever psychological aspect is concerned. So you'll be also giving me the scoring in terms of the on paper and also on the off paper. That means whether I was whether I was like impactful or not, or what was the scoring that you'll be giving for the cognitive testing. That if I was strongly having the impact, partial impact, and not having the impact on this topic is given to me. Okay, it is called as what polytomous scoring. So for this example, strongly disagree could mean different things to different people, which will be impact how the resulting scores can be compared across the individuals. So if you have a very small example of this, for example, of this polytomous question or polytomous scoring, that means if I'm just using a product of OnePlus, so if I'm using a product of Apple, so if I'm just using Apple iPhone, so if whatever me as an example or me as a consumer, I will also giving a score that I'm strongly having the not having any kind of a satisfaction, or that I'm strongly disagreeing with. That means that Apple phones are good. That means it is my like assumption, or it is my aspect, or it is my psychological analysis. But the different group of people, or the different people from the planet Earth, they can be also the wrong, or they can be also different with my different opinion. Okay. So what is the criteria for a good measurement? That is only three of them. That is the reliability, validity and the practicality. That means the scale need to be reliable enough in terms of your research is concerned. The scale need to be a valid scale, and the scale need to be in the practical manner, or it can be used in the practical sense. So whichever scaling technique is given to you, or whichever scaling technique that generally is there in this research. So scaling technique having the two important parameters, there's comparative scales and non-comparative scales, and pair comparison, rank order, constant sum. QSOT technique is into the comparative scale, and in the non-comparative scales, there are the two of them. That is the continuous rating scales and the itemized rating scales, and having further T-scope, that is a Likert scale questions, a symmetric differential, and the staple scale for this kind of a scaling technique is concerned. So let's take the first one called as a comparative scale. So comparative scale having the four types as I have briefed you earlier. That is a pair comparisons, rank order scale, constant sum of scale, and the QSOT technique. So if it about pair comparison, ultimately you are just having the difference between two data, or having the two objects is been given to you. So if it about in this graph, I have just given this small example. I have the two fruit, namely apple and the orange. So if it about if I'm just giving you this question to one like respondent, so if I just ask this question to one respondent, that means okay, what you like, apple or orange? So if it about myself, or if it about if some researcher is asking this same question, if it about me as a person, I like orange as compared to apple. So if you can see on the right hand side is on the orange, and I have given that extremely preference. But in the apple, I'll be giving you that very slightly preferred, because I don't like orange because I don't like apple as compared to orange. So that means I have given the extremely preference to orange. But maybe possible that I'm not that kind of a person to eat apple on a very regular basis. So I have just given that what slightly having the preference. So ultimately, you are ultimately comparing what are two variable or a two object or a two factors in a given manner. So you can scale also 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, or you can also scale from 1 to 5 or 1, 2, 3, and so on. Next is rank order scaling. Ultimately, you are giving rank. If it about on the left hand side is given to you, there are the please rank the following actors. There are the five actors, namely the Johnny Depp, Will Smith, Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, and George Clooney. So if it about me as an example, if I need to give the preference that out of five or out of five, I just need to have to score 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, namely. So I can also give the ranking that if it about the Leonardo DiCaprio, I'll be giving the rank of 1. Brad Pitt, I'll be giving rank number 2. Johnny Depp, I'll be giving 3. For Will Smith, I'll be giving 4. And for George Clooney, I'll be giving 5. That is it's up to me. I can give also ranking, or I can also give the marks, or I can also give the rank out of 10, or I also can give the marks out of 100, whatever. So it is just ultimately I'm just giving you what rank. So you can, if about on the right hand side example, I have also given that please rank the following chocolate brands from least preferred to most preferred, with one being least preferred. So if you can see that I have given very specifically, or I have given very strongly that least preferred to most preferred, with one is being the least preferred. So if I talk about the Cadbury, so if I like Cadbury, I will give it marks called as a 5. But if what about the chocolate called Ghirardelli, if what about that, I because I don't like Ghirardelli, or I don't prefer Ghirardelli as compared to Cadbury, so I'll be giving option called as 1. Okay, so meanwhile you can design your questionnaire, you can design the instrument, and you can just select, or you can just inculcate this pair comparison. Rank scaling also. So preference of toothpaste brands using the rank order scaling. So there's a very small form is given to you. That is, there are the 10 brands of toothpaste brand is available, and you just need to rank this brand based from first rank to the 10th rank, and one being the highest rank score. And you can give the ranking based on your taste and preference and the choice. Next is a constant sum scaling. So that means a respondent can allocate a constant sum of units such as 100 points to attributes of a product to reflect their importance. So if an attribute is not important or is not important to you, so the respondent assign it 0 points. So if you take about in this example, so on the like left hand side, I have just given you a very small example of having the uh, given example of a car. Okay, so for the car, I am having the 100 points, and I'm having the four options, or having the four aspects called as the performance, safety, body style, and the interior design. So based on my feedback, or based on my concern, or based on my usage, I'll be giving the marks, or I'll be giving the scores to each variables out of 100. So for the performance, I have given the 40. For safety, I have given 10. For body style, I have given 20. For interior design, I have given 30. So if it about the scoring of all these four factors is what 100 points. So that is, it is a constant sum score, or constant sum scale. For example, another one, that is criteria when purchasing a new laptop. So if you're planning to buy a new laptop, or which are the things that, or which are the criteria that will be following up. So I have the five. So I have the five criteria: be it from brand, features, quality, hard disk space, and the price. So after this five, I'll be mentioning the criteria based on my choice, based on my interest, out of 100. Next, it is the Q sort technique, widely used in terms of the some of the topic of social research, but it is very difficult to analyze. So most of the researchers are not using the same, because I don't know why, but having a very good plethora of these characteristics. So it is used to discriminate among the large number of objects quickly. So it uses a rank order procedure, and the objects are sorted into a piles. So place things on the top of the another, and based on the similarity with respect to some criteria. Okay, so let's see the example. So we can classify 60 brands or a pile into three piles, and so the number of objects is to be placed in the three piles: low, medium, or high. So what about, you have the 60 brands, you have identified 60 brands, and based on the 60 brands, you just need to score that which brand having the a positive impact on the mindset, or having the very positive correlation with the advertising and versus the purchasing power. So if you can see, you can, out of 60, you can have that three piles, or three having that segregation. I'll be using the word for segregation, that you can also arrange in the low, medium, and also high. So point is that you are ultimately classifying, or you are just segregating these brands based on the kind of multiple objects or multiple objectives that we have found out. So thus, this technique is an attempt to classify the subjects in in terms of their similarity or attributes under the study. So I have just given the example of few sorts. That is, there are the nine parameters, or there are the nine things that I have identified. And based on this nine, I have just given about the fifth variable called as a shy. So shy having the highest number. So ultimately, out of all the data I have gathered, so I have just classified this data in very classification manner, or into the very segregated manner, so that I can understand that which variable having the similarity on which scale. Next, there is a non-comparative rating scales is concerned. That is, first is what continuous rating scale. That is, the respondents rate the objects by placing a mark at the appropriate position on a line that runs from one extreme of the criterion variable to the other. So the form of the continuous scale may vary considerably. If what about the first thing, that how would you rate a Sears as a departmental store? So I have just given the version one, that is, I have given on the left hand side called as a probability the worst, and on the right hand side, or on the other side, I have given option called as a probability the best. So based on my feedback, or based on my experience, I will be assigning the data, or I'll be assigning the things. Point is that these are continuous rating scale. If what about, if you can see in this question, or in this answer, that is, I have given the probability the worst on the left hand side, and the probability the best on the right hand side. So I can select either of them, or either I can select on a very midpoint, or whatever. So how would you rate the Sears as a department store? I can also give the assign it the value, or I can give the tick mark on the given point. But if I talk about the version two, So version 2 having the probability the worst and probability the best of data. But as a researcher, I have given the value from 0 to 100. Now 50 bearing the midpoint, so 0 to 50 having the value of probably the worst, and the more than 50, that is from 50 to from 51 to 100 will be the data or will be having the value of a probability the best. So the more the data is near to 100, it is about the data. That means the CS is a base tool, and the more the value is having the nearness of zero, having the that means the verdict that is called as a it is a probability the worst store of called as a CR store. If we about version 3, so version 3 again the data is there, but as a researcher I have given the three parameters. So having the very bad, so from 0 to 30 having the very bad store, from 31 to 60 having the neither good or nor bad, and from 61 to 100 I have given the criteria called as a very good. So having these three criteria, I can also frame my questionnaire. Also, I can frame my question based on this continuous rating scale method is concerned. Next, and one of the most widely used by researchers and one of the most admired one of the most liked one, and one of the most trending one from students from graduation to from the researcher, that is called as a Likert scale or a Likert scale, developed by Francis Likert. And here the respondents are asked to indicate a degree of agreement and disagreement with each of the series of a statement. So ultimately, you are just giving the option, and the respondent will be having the preference on the whether they are agreeing or whether they are not disagreeing or whether they are not agreeing the same. So each scale item has a five response categories ranging from the strongly agree and strongly agree. This can be any of them. I have just given the data, but I'll be just giving this small brief or a very small small inputs where when you are framing this Likert scale question in your questionnaire, please identify that what is meaning of one and what is the meaning of five. Okay, if what about this example, I have given five box. That is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There is a five having strongly agree, four having the agree, three having the indifferent called as a neutral, two having the disagree, and the one bearing strongly disagree. So if what about the question, the question is uh, I mean, if what about the one of the thing called as if you have purchase of one electronic components from the departmental store, that is, if you can, the question is that the particular departmental store service is how. I mean, the what is the I mean, whether you are agreeing that the service of the this particular department store is having the very good service. So having there are having the five option from five to one. There is a five bearing strongly agree and the one having a strongly disagree. So ultimately, you are just giving the option, or ultimately the respondent are having the tested with the having the whether they are agreeing or whether they are not agreeing, or into bracket called as a disagreement. So, but when you are framing the questionnaire, or when you are framing the Google form, or when you are framing the survey form, whatever for the data collection method, please identify that what is the meaning of strongly agree, be it as a one or be it as a five. Because when you will be coding the data into the SPSS or any kind of a software, you need to understand that what is meaning of one and what is the meaning of five. Because a lot of researchers are doing things very small mistake or very minor mistake, but this minor mistake leads to on a very great scale while you are concluding your work. Okay, so when you are framing this Likert scale question, you just need to make sure that strongly agree means how much. I mean, be it as a one or be it as a five, and strongly disagree means what, a one or five. So I have also given the 5-point scale and also 7-point scale. That the website is innovative. What about that? The particular website that you are referring, and if you just need to score that, is this website is innovative or not, or this is website is innovative. So having the five option, that is strongly disagree, disagree, neither agree or disagree, agree, and strongly agree. So ultimately, in this question, you are just having the measurement whether you are agreeing that the website is innovative or not. And in the 7-point scale, I have added two more question, or I have added two more feature. I have made it two more scale. The first scale having a strongly disagree. Second having the disagree. Third option I have added new called as a disagree somewhat. Fourth option, neither agree, neither or disagree. Next is agree somewhat, agree, and strongly agree. So you can frame this kind of a scale based on the related data or related question that you have framed out. Next is example of Likert scale question. That is a 5-point scale anchor that I have made. That is example that 1 to 5 scale is given to you. That using the Likert scale state the extent to which you agree with each of the the following circle your answer. So the first question is that my work is very interesting. So if you want to score that yes, your work is really interesting, you can score called strongly agree based on the work that you are into. Second, I'm not engaged in my work all day. So if you're thinking, yes, I'm also being deviated from the different thought or different type of a task or a work, you can score, yes, I also agree that I'm not engaged with my work all the day. And the last question, that is life without my work will be dull. So if you are a very like energetic person, that you can say yes, that without work my life can be dull. So on the whatever based on your scale or based on your interest, you can do this kind of circles, and you can have this kind of agreement or a disagreement with the question. Next, staple scale question. It was developed by Jen Staple, and the modern version of the staple scale plays a single adjective as a substitute for the semantic differential when it is difficult to create pairs of bipolar adjectives. So this scale has some features. That is, each item has only one word phrase indicating the dimension into it represents, and each item has 10 response categories. So ultimately, you can see that having in the staple scale question, in the staple scale aspect, there are the multiple things or there are multiple dimensions to be considered, and having the 10 response categories. Let's see how. So if you can see that this scale is presented vertically. So if you can see from the top to bottom, or from the top, that is, it's given there +5, +4, +3, +2, +1. That is called as high quality, and -1, -2, -3, -4, and -5. It has been given from the top to bottom, is called as vertically. So if you can see, the staple scale is just about the nothing from the vertically is represented to you, and having the 10 scale. So you can frame this question based on the interest given to you. Okay, for example, I give another example. The respondent may be asked to rate their job using staple scale as follows. So I have just given the three criteria, or I have given the three scales. First scale was challenging, second scale is the suits my skill, and the third is what satisfactory. So if you can see, or the first parameter called as a challenging. So if you think that yes, your job is more challenging as compared to your colleague or as compared to your peer's job, you can score +3. What about suits my skill? If you think that yes, yes, it suits my skill, but not oftenly, or but not regularly. So you can score +1, or you can score -3. Okay, if you can satisfactory. So satisfactory, yes, I'm very much satisfied with my job, that whatever I'm doing for myself, for my family, and for my company or for my organization, you can score a +3 on a satisfactory scale of a stable scale is concerned. Next is a semantic differential scale. That is, it is developed by Osgood, Stuckey, and Steinbaum. It can be used to measure attitudes from the meaning. Okay, so what is being a semantic? That is a meaning or a psychological significance. This particular scale is more often used into the psychographical analysis, and into a very where the psychological aspect are concerned. If about very live research, I have like undertaken with the help of government of Gujarat, that is the state government. I'm also into be rushing into a very small meeting I need to undertake by government officials in terms of COVID-19 due to its concern to me. So recently, government appointed several faculties to the research on the COVID patient, that what they feel. I mean, not about the government, not about any kind of political issues, But what are their thoughts, or what are their mental states or is concerned, or mental mindset is concerned, or what they think, what they perceive when the COVID-19 comes to their family, or like infected body is concerned. So when we did research as a team of the faculties from the different part of the province, different part of the cities, different part of the faculty, or different part of the subject interest is concerned, we have used semantic differential scale, because semantic differential scale is very much like impacted if you want to analyze psychological significance. There was having very small question that because COVID-19 infected to you, what is the impact on your mindset? And believe me, that we have collected the data, but I mean, the data is very much confidential with us. But I'm just sharing very small glimpse to you. Okay, that the data itself is like representing that if the COVID-19 is affected to any of the person, okay, 79 percentage of the respondents, they are feeling and they are agreeing, yes, they are into a depression phase, because the right now the negativity is spreading, the COVID-19 is also spreading, the health aspect, the health tourism also collapsing like anything, because of the resources, because a lot of issues, a lot of things is concerned. I'm not going into debate, but if you want to analyze the psychological significance, if you want to analyze the attitude of the customers, or if you want, if I have a very small example, I have taken to my students into a very small, very tiny department store, just to analyze, just to observe the purchasing pattern. Okay, I mean, it was a before COVID scenario, I think approximately 1.5 years ago. So when I just told them, when we have just gathered, or when we have just gathered on in the lecture, I have been always taking the session into very practical manner. So I have just gathered the students, bunch of the students, and I have taken to them to the departmental store, that just identify the purchasing pattern of the consumer. So few of the students were standing into the queue of the departmental store as a just dummy customer. So this kind of a thing you can always inculcate in your teaching methods or your teaching pedagogical tools, and also in your research. That is, semantic differential scale is the most important thing right now, most important scale, because it is ultimately measuring the attitude from the meaning. Okay, so if you can see that, if I will give example, that I have given that example, that I think Mr. John is dash. Now I have given two examples: smart and stupid, okay, bad and good, and beautiful and ugly, or handsome and ugly. Okay, so if you can see that smart and stupid both are on a very diverse scale, or both are into very opposite scale, but it is just the attitude mapping. If what about me as an example, you as a researcher, if you have given me this question to me, that I think Mr. John is dash, so be it as a smart or be it as a stupid. That I need to make. The point is that there are the two endpoint of standard response format is given to you. Okay. And ultimately this question identify your attitude. That what is your attitude towards Mr. John is. Okay. If what about me as a very much optimist person, I'm having very good relations with Mr. John. I'll be selecting yes, Mr. John is smart, Mr. John is good, and Mr. John is beautiful, or like handsome. But if someone person is a not supporting Mr. John, or having the diverse background as compared to John is concerned, they can always be selecting to a non attitude concerned scale to select. That is, they can select a stupid, they can select bad, and they can select also ugly. So semantic differential scale for a measuring attitude towards a tennis. That if you want to scale that the tennis as a game or tennis as a sport, how the tennis sport is. Okay, so having the exciting, calm, interesting, dull, simple, complex, and the passive and active. So based on your attitude, or based on your mindset, based on your choice, based on your preference, and based on your attitude, you can count or you can select that what is the tennis up to you in terms of you is concerned. So I'm just concluding right now. That is, and on a very last slide, that is again I'm just quoting this thing that is research is a journey, not a destination. So keep researching all the way, keep researching your data, analysis, information, because once you stop your journey, it will really hamper you in this journey or in this process. And also I'll be really thanking you the Jain University always being to thank to me, because they are always trying to go, they are always trying to implement, they're always trying to fill the gap between expectation versus reality in terms of the research as is concerned. And they are identifying and they are launching and they are having a lot of programs on this kind of a workshop, on this kind of a conferences, and also this kind of type of conclave. So I really congratulate Jain University and also the organizing committee for like inviting me on this occasion. So think, rethink, and apply. And thank you so much for patient listening. And I'll be really opening this session for question and answer, because I'll be really more interested for a question and answer, because you'll be having a lot of questions, a lot of doubts, a lot of having the technical problems that what is the thing is going around, and you can always share your question right now, and you can always note it down my contact details, so you can contact me directly whenever the any kind of a problem that you face in terms of research journey is concerned. So thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, I'll be really opening up the session for a question answer topic. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Indeed, it was a great session.
Thank you,
So,
madam.
yeah, so I request participants to post your questions in the chat box so that sir will answer your questions.
Correct. Yeah. So I have the I think 99 plus questions. So I'm just reading on a very quick note from the, I think from start of the session, because I was having a lot of questions when I just started the lecture, but
Yes.
it was yeah.
Okay, so we have one question here. So, how
Yeah.
do you assess the readability or validity?
Sorry, I can got you. I'm just opening that all the questions that is in Q&A. Just
One
wait.
second. Oh, one. How do you assess the readability validity?
So I think there's a I'm just sorry that I'm just taking the question from the sequential method. I mean I have the
Okay.
question of G Cannon, that is, sir, how to frame psychometric question and the options. Yes, very good question by G Cannon. That is for psychometric question. First, you need to identify the research objective, because all the question is always been to from the research objective. So psychometric question, I have just briefed you that semantic scale having a very huge impact to identification of the psychometric question. So I'll be really emphasizing to use a scale-based question and also psychometric question for this kind of question is concerned. Yeah. Uh, Next, I'll be taking the question of yeah, by Dr. Arturo G. Palami. That is, how do you assess the readability validity? Okay, so validity is altogether is a different aspect when it comes to the scale is concerned, because I have just given that what is the criteria for good measurement, that is reliability, practicability, and also accessibility. So yes, if you want to identify or if you want to assess the validity of the readable, or if you want to assess the validity, so there is the statistical software. So there are the two things, or there are the two forms that you can witness the you can assess the validity is concerned. That means you can first have the title. You can first have them, then you can have the watching their literature reviews. Then you can score. Then you can have the objective findings, and you'll be having the research analysis concerned. But it is the first method. Second method is that the people like a lot of students, a lot of people are doing, a lot of faculties are doing that. First, they identify the questionnaire. I mean, it's very fun example. I'm just sharing with you that a lot of faculties are on a very shortcut basis, that they identify they first frame the questionnaire, and then they go to the title, and then they go to the objectives and the data analysis and so on. But if you want to assess the validity of a scale, first follow the process. That means First, identify the data. After the data, identify the which scale you need to select based on the objective is identification. Uh, yes, I'll be sharing this. I think slide. I think I'm just also. I think the team will share the slide to you.
Yes, sir. We will do that.
Yeah, thank you. Uh, Next is I think of okay. People are asking about the feedback link for the certification purpose. Okay. What is the clearly difference between interval and ratio scale? Yeah. What about the ratio scale? Ratio scale combining all the characteristics of a nominal, ordinal, and the interval data or interval scale. So ratio scale and the interval scale having the very small, minute difference. That is, ratio scale having all the basic information of a nominal, ordinal, and interval, and the interval scale is only measuring the difference between the two data or the two aspects. But in the ratio scale, it having they also assess the values in between of the scale, and the data is being to the measured with the absolute zero. So it's very small difference. It's very thin line difference between the interval and the ratio scale. Thank you. Uh, Okay. So is it correct or mandatory to add a neither agree or disagree in the scale as the chances of wrong response is increased? Correct. So the respondent who do not have time just go with this option. Yes, correct. So when you're framing the Likert scale question, or when framing the scale based question, having the 5-point scale or a 7-point scale, a lot of faculties are also framing the 9 and also 11 scale question. But I think 9 and 11 scale is not as compared to theoretically perfect. But if what about the neither agree or disagree in the scale, yes, you can always minimize or you can always mitigate, because sometimes if you want to find a correct scale or if you want to find a correct response, yes, there are the multiple times it's been happening that students or like responses or like sorry respondent, they also identifying the wrong response. So if you've added the like strongly agree, agree, neutral, disagree, and strongly disagree. But if you add neither agree or neither disagree, so ultimately you are not gauging, or ultimately you are not scaling that question, because ultimately you are only scaling that yes, they are the neutral. They are the only neutral part of this scale is question, or they are the only neutral having this kind of opinion. So I think there is no point to remove this question. You can just put it down as that way, because ultimately you will, if you remove that question, or if you remove the option called neither agree or disagree, ultimately you won't be taking the descriptive data, that if you want to find that which respondent which respondent is not agreeing, or this respondent is not neither, they are having the neutral feedback. So yes, I think it is better to put this answer, or this better to put this option called as a neither agree or disagree. But I'm just repeating once again, it is again is based on the data, or this just based on the topic that you selected, because ultimately the scale based question having the it is ultimately you are measuring the scalability in terms of the agreement or the disagreement. Yeah. The next question is about for okay. So next question is about the Jubin Kumar signing. That is, the sir, please specify the difference between accessibility, reliability, and the practicality. Kindly explain with example. Okay. So if what about the scale criteria, or what is the good scale of criteria is concerned? That is, the scale need to be accessible. That means there are the few of the questionnaire that I have referred, or that are when I be taking the PhD viva of the faculties, or the defense viva of all this kind of project and so on. When I just check the questionnaire, or when I just check the instrument of the data collection that they have framed, uh, I just usually think, and I just usually see that a lot of questions are not not part of the question or are not part of the objective. So first important is that if you want to access the scale, first you just need to only point those questions. It is only related to your objective. So if the objective and if the question is not related, that means that particular data or this particular question is not accessible. Second is reliable. So the scale that you are selecting and the question that you are forming is need to be reliable enough, because I have seen multiple things that multiple times that most of the question are having the combination of the two scale. Please do not do the same, because ultimately you will be having the confusion while you're having the analysis. So first, that is the reliable means what the data and the scale that you have selected need to reliable based on the objective that you have raised. And the practicality there, that means whatever the research that we are doing, that we as a group that we are doing, it need to be beneficial for all. So do not do the research just for your sake or just for your just for your completion of the time, but also identify that research need to be a practicality. That means the scale need to be used in the practical sense. Yes, the next question is Aminul Haq Russell. There is, please, sir, any reference article for mid-scale measurement? I think you can find ample amount of articles on the search engine. But I will also send a couple of files that I have with me that I used to refer in terms of scale of measurement is concerned. I will also send the material to the team. Uh, Okay. What about 6-point Likert scale, sir? Okay. What about the 6-point Likert scale question? I thought about very small history that I have just taken. I thought about very small past story. First of all, that in like one of my research paper, I have identified 6 Likert scale question, and I have just presented to the one of the leading institute in India called as IIM. Sorry, I won't be revealing the like information that in which institute I have always published into IIM papers, but into one of this conference when I was presenting the research paper, and one of the panelists or one of the expert they have raised a question that you can't frame a 6-point Likert scale question in this research. So I asked why. So they have raised the question that scale question will be always on the 5-point and the 7-point scale. So when I just explored this thing on a very great detail, and when I just encountered with a lot of research specialists on the very technical sound fraternity, they are having always two school of thought. That means the one school of thought is only focusing on 5-point and 7-point scale, and one school also having that you can always claim 2 scale question, 4 scale question, 6 scale question. I mean, again, it's altogether is based on the questionnaire or based on the topic that you selected. But I think as compared, if you're asking to me, I'll be only emphasizing that if you are planning to have the scale based question, only plan a 5-point scale and the 7-point scale. That is my viewpoint. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, because there are a school of thought, because research is a very common, research is very standardized subject. I mean, but I don't know there why there are a couple of school of thought is increased by day in terms of different thoughts are concerned. That next is do you believe that perception question is the lowest and biased form of data collection? Why or why not? Yes, perception question. See, first of all, you can't find the perception based on the questionnaire. First of all, because there is a model. There are a lot of models based on your different field, be it as a finance, marketing, HR, or be it as general management is concerned. That means if you want to identify perception, there's a perception scaling technique. So based on only data collection, on based is only data collection, because based on only data that you have collected, you can't find only perception in terms of the analysis. You need to find a lot of statistical tools. I think there are having a lot of questions, if
Okay.
I'm not wrong.
Now, Yeah, Dr. Upadhyay, what we will do is we'll mail you across these questions
Correct.
so that you can answer them.
Exactly. Thank you.
Because a lot of questions are there.
Correct.
Thank you. So thank you so much, Dr. Upadhyay. With this, we come to the end of your session. I will request Professor Akkamma to render a small vote of thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you,
Akkamma?
sir. Thank you. Yes, yes, ma'am. I'm here. I hope I'm audible. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for an amazing session. On behalf of Center for Management Studies, Jain deemed to be University, I would like to thank Dr. Devashi Upadhyay for taking out time from busy schedule and enlightening us with the knowledge. It gave deep insights on the topic on measurements of scale applied in, importance in applied research, which covered research process, classification of measurement scale and classification of scaling and many other things, and also revealed some interesting facts. I'm pretty sure the precious knowledge that Sir gave us will definitely help our participants as well as us. So thank you once again, sir, for an amazing session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Good day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Now we will commence the second session of ours by our very own research coordinator, Dr. Varsha Agarwal. Dr. Varsha Agarwal presently works as an assistant professor and research cell coordinator at the Center for Management Studies, Jain deemed to be University. She has more than 9 years of industry, academia, and research experience. She completed her MBA, Finance and Marketing from ICFI Business School, Gurgaon. She did her PhD in the field of healthcare quality from Christ University. She is a certified for data analysis skills from Harvard University.
Just give us 5 minutes. I think just I'm lost connections. 2 minutes.
I think I'll start with the session without wasting any further time. Okay. So good evening, all participants. So this is a session, I'll have a very small session based on cluster analysis and discriminant analysis. So here more I'll focus on practical part rather than giving you the entire theory. So the idea is in what context we use cluster analysis and what are the requirements, what I should know, because this is advanced level SPSS. So those who in the first session, all of you have learned about factor analysis, correct? And we also gave you insights regarding variables. And in today's session also you have learned about different scales and how do you define your variables. So these are two advanced level tests which you use in your research, whether it is MPhil or it is PhD, and these tools are not used in each and every research like your factor analysis or correlation or regression. So they are used based on your requirements, what are your objectives. So one is cluster analysis, one is discriminant analysis. Before I move ahead, one thing I would like to tell here is that there are two keywords which we use here. One is clustering or dividing, and another one is discriminating. And both are different. Classifying your data and discriminating your data, both are two different key terms. So that is why we have two different objectives behind using these tests. So quickly I'll start with the cluster analysis. So cluster analysis is basically a technique which is used for classifying cases into groups which are relatively homogeneous within themselves. Okay, so within, let us say you have formed 2 groups or 4 groups. So within, so each group is homogeneous within the group, but heterogeneous between each other, which means that group 1 will have all similarities within all its elements or members, but it will be heterogeneous with group 1 and group 2 or group 3. So these groups will be heterogeneous between each other, and it will be defined on the basis of certain set of variables. And these groups are known as clusters. Cluster analysis is basically used in marketing or HR studies when you have larger geographical dispersion, or you have big data set, and you have certain requirements. Let us say you have taken a study of colleges across Karnataka. So in that case, you want to divide them into clusters, okay, or you have various cities in your study. So in that case, you want to again divide them under clusters. So clustering is a requirement. Clustering is not mandatory. We do not do clustering every time. Whatever research we are doing, it is not mandatory that every time you have to do the clustering. Running these analysis is very easy. Okay, it takes 3 to 4 buttons to press in SPSS, and then you get your task done. But understanding the objective and what all information you get and how do we utilize that information is more important. Okay, so I will tell you also how to run this analysis using a data sheet, but before that I will just tell objective behind both the test. So this was the brief about cluster analysis. Now what are the steps? Okay, there are different categories in cluster analysis when it comes to running the analysis based on different approaches. So first one, you have to select a distance measure. Okay, you have to select a clustering algorithm and determine number of clusters, and then we have to validate the analysis. So let us say you have a sample size of 1,000 people from different geographical locations, or different age groups, or different occupations, or different gender, or different religions. Now, how many clusters I need? That is first question. On what basis I need to classify them? That is second question. So these two questions I need to answer first before I go for data collection, before I run my analysis. So I need to set up the data accordingly. I hope it is clear. Okay, so one question, on what basis I need to cluster my data or classify my data, and second thing, how many clusters I need. In some cases, we know that how many clusters we want to form. In some cases, we do not know. So based on this answer, we have different approaches within cluster analysis. So one way, when we know the number, straight away we will go for a test and we will run it. But when we do not know number of clusters, in that case, a pre-requirement is knowing factor analysis. So in that case, you need to run factor analysis in case if you do not know how many clusters you are supposed to form. I hope I am clear here. Yes. Right. So now I have enabled the chat. If any doubts anybody has, now they can post in chat box. I'll take in the end. So as I've told you, two questions are important in cluster formations. Clustering procedure. So as I told you, when you know the number of clusters or when you do not know, so there are two procedures. One is hierarchical, another one is non-hierarchical procedure. So in hierarchical procedure, again, you have two categories. One is agglomerative and then divisive. Agglomerative, when you start forming from n cluster to get one cluster, which means that already you have formed the clusters and now you need to get one cluster. Okay, divisive, from one cluster you want to form n clusters. Fine. So this is one approach. Another one is K means clustering, which means I know or I have determined how many clusters I need to form. Okay, when I say clusters or groups, I will not form 15 to 20 clusters. 15 to 20 clusters means you have a study of crores or lakhs of people. When I'm having data of 500 or 600 people, I might not form more than 3 or 4 clusters also. Okay, or again, it depends on the objectives or requirement of our study. Okay, hierarchical, somebody is asking me what is hierarchical cluster, which means that when I do not know that how many clusters I'm supposed to form, in that case, I might go from agglomerated to divisive approach. Okay, so it will tell me how many clusters I should form. Agglomerative clustering. So in that case, I use linkage method. So there are again three methods: single linkage, complete linkage, and then average linkage. So here I've written minimum distance and maximum distance. What is that distance? I will explain that once you see the diagram. Okay, right now you will not be able to understand it. So basically it is when you are putting your data for clustering formation, they will decide a distance, and based on that, it is kind of interval also. Based on that, each item will be coming under a cluster. Okay, so you can form minimum distance or maximum distance, how far one is from another. So based on that, it will be happening. Okay, so then we use Watt's method. What is Watt's method? Watt's method is used to compute the sum of squared distance within clusters and aggregate clusters with the minimum increase in the overall sum of square. Fine. And then in the Watt's method, either we are using the square distance or we can use centroid method, but Watt's method is the most popular and the most commonly used. So centroid method, in that distance between two clusters will be defined with the centroid. Now you will be asking, what is this distance? See, basically what are you doing is you have the data. Now you are just dividing into groups. Now on what basis you are dividing it? It should have some kind of homogeneity as well as heterogeneity. So you are identifying those patterns, and based on that, clustering will happen automatically using SPSS. Get it? Okay. So So this was agglomerative when I do not know number of clusters, and when I know number of clusters, that means K means clustering method. All these are readily available in SPSS. I will show you how do we do this. So number of K cluster is fixed, and the initial set of K is provided. So I will straight away enter how many clusters I need to form from this assigned data set. Fine. And then again, I will go back to the step 3. So where given a certain threshold, all units will be assigned to the nearest cluster seed. See, if you, when you were doing factor analysis, what you were doing? You were assigning your variables to factors, okay, based on the eigenvalues. Here, what I'm doing, I'm assigning elements to the clusters based on the distances they belong to. So this is the difference between hierarchical and non-hierarchical method. Non-hierarchical means your K means cluster method. So no decision about the number of clusters. So in hierarchical clustering, we do not know. But in non-hierarchical clustering, we know it. Okay. So no decision about the number of clusters, but in non-hierarchical, we know. So that is why this method is considered as the faster and more reliable. In hierarchical clustering, problems when data contain a high level of error, in that case, we can use it. Okay, when we do not know it, it can be slow and it will give us the initial solution. But in non-hierarchical method, it needs to specify the number of clusters. We have fixed number of clusters and we will put that integer into the software and it will give us those number of clusters and need to set the initial seeds. Fine. We just need to know the objective, and running the test is, as I told you, it's very easy. Automatically it will tell you which element is going to which cluster. Let us say you have taken data from 10 people and then you are running the cluster analysis. So it automatically will tell you there are 2 clusters and person 1 belongs to cluster 1, person 3 belongs to cluster 1, and then this person belongs to this cluster. So like that, automatically the sheet will be generated in your SPSS. Now, what is the suggested method? Should I know number of clusters before, or I should not know? Which one is better? What they say is K means cluster procedure is better, easy, compact to run. So in this session, I will teach you both. Okay, I will teach you how to run both the analysis. So when you do not know, so in that case, first we run the factored analysis. Factored analysis will tell us number of factors. Those number of factors are equivalent to your number of clusters. So that cluster number I put into K means cluster method, and based on that, it will give me the clusters. It will form the clusters for my data set. So this is how it looks. So let us say you are having a number of clusters. Okay. So cluster 1, cluster 2. So who is belonging to which cluster? Okay. Then what is elbow rule? That also I will tell when we are running this analysis. So here, if you see that coefficients, so first it starts increasing and then it starts decreasing. Okay, so it will be you will be getting this in the form of a elbow diagram. So all of you know what is the shape of elbow. Okay, so that elbow shape curve you will get, and the moment it is starting moving or you are getting the slope, that point you are getting as your number of clusters. So in this diagram particularly they have highlighted as number of cluster is 7. How did you get it? Like this. So you see the distance here is very high. So this is the point where you will see you call it as elbow point. This is known as elbow rule. So starting till here. Okay, so the first elbow you are getting here. So these are the number of clusters. So you see the diagram here. It's looking like an elbow. So the first time when you see that there is a larger gap, so that is number of cluster. Okay, so this is the approach we are following when we do not know number of clusters. And validating the analysis. So impact of initial seeds or order of cases, impact of selected method, consider the relevance of the chosen set of variables. So all these things are important on what basis I am forming the cluster. Okay, which method I am choosing. Am I using hierarchical or non-hierarchical? I am using agglomeration or I am using the k-means cluster method. So both the methods are important and both are having its own relevance. So this is how your SPSS sheet looks. You would have collected our data. Okay. And then there are certain steps in SPSS. So you go for Analyze tab. Okay. This is how all these people are belonging from different geographical area or background or age or occupation, whatever it is. And we need to divide them into clusters. Okay. So in this case, again, you are forming this elbow. So you see the distance from 1.456 to 4.503. Okay, so number of clusters. So that is how you are determining it. Okay, now it is also telling you who is belonging to which cluster. So in SPSS, when you do not know how to run cluster analysis, as I've already told you, you need to do factor analysis. The only change here is that you need to save those variables when you are running the factor analysis. Quickly, I'll take you there also. It will just take a minute to learn it. So factor analysis, save those variables, and then you go for the cluster analysis basic step. In that case, you need to apply the Watts method on the principal component score, and then check agglomeration schedule, decide number of clusters, and then apply the k-means method. This is the simple approach to form the number of clusters or to know how many clusters should be there in my data. This is the tab which we press. So when you go to Analyze, Classify, and then you press Hierarchical Cluster. Okay. After this, whatever factors you have saved, those factors will be shown here. So you will be putting here statistics, and you need to unclick these plots. We will run this analysis. And here we are going to choose the Watts method. So in the hierarchical cluster analysis, we use Watts method. So this is the method we need to use. And this is the interval which we have chosen, squared Euclidean distance, on which basis cluster will be formed. So this is the distance which we will be taking care. Okay. And once you do this, this kind of output window comes. So case processing summary, and then agglomeration schedule will come, and this is the same table generated. So in this table, you need to see for the elbow point. So wherever you are having larger gap, that is your elbow point. So based on that, you need to see the number of clusters. So in this agglomeration schedule, if you see here, it is coming as from 335 to 364.634. This is the first one. Okay, for this table, what we need to do is that you will tell that there are lot many stages, 150 stages, 200 stages. How will I do it? Manually. So this particular data you need to copy into Excel, sort it, and then you can identify the particular gap or your elbow point. Okay, so this will give you. So this is how the elbow point is generated. So it is at 144. Now total stages, if I say in previous 149, and then at 144 I'm getting it. Okay. So this is how total number of cases. This is how I calculate number of clusters. Total number of cases were 150. Step of elbow was 144. When I take the difference of that, I get my number of clusters. So this is number of clusters I have calculated. Now I will go for k-means cluster method. In that, straight away I will put the number. Okay, so now I will repeat the same analysis, but I will choose the k-means cluster technique. I will put 6 as the number of cluster, and then I will save cluster number for each case, and then run the analysis. So this will, again, earlier I was doing hierarchy. Now I will go for k-means cluster on the same data sheet. Okay, because earlier I did not know how many clusters I should form. Now I know I should form 6 clusters from this data. So now I will go for k-means cluster method, and then I will put here number of clusters. You see here number of clusters 6. I have just straight away entered. Okay, and same variables I have taken. Cluster membership, save new variable. So cluster membership, so it will tell me which variable belongs to which cluster. So here you see, so totally you are having 5 factors, and now you have 6 clusters. Okay, so number of cases. So in first cluster you have 38, second you have 38, third you have 12, fourth you have 27, fifth you have 16, sixth you have 19. So totally 150 cases you had in your data. So in 6 clusters, this is how you have divided. Okay, just give me a second. So this is how we will do it. So I will take you to the data sheet also for cluster analysis. How do we specify it? So we were there on this. As I was telling you, it will tell you how many members are there in each cluster. And now if you see in this table, they have told clearly who belongs to which cluster. So let us say this is the 17th variable whose age is 51, income is 39,269 rupees or dollars, whatever it is. Okay, and it belongs to cluster, then cluster 4, cluster 4, cluster 6, 4. So who belongs to which cluster, that is also been highlighted here. So this is our objective, to know that how we have formed 6 clusters and who belongs to which cluster. This is the whole sole objective. Okay, if you see that what is the advantage of that, why will I use it? See, the objective was to divide your data into clusters, and that you have done using cluster analysis. How you want to use those clusters, that is again up to you as a researcher. You will tell me that I have taken 100 college data, why I am dividing. So that is up to you, that you want to divide it. Okay, it is not mandatory to perform cluster analysis on your data. If you want to perform cluster analysis, then only you need to go for it. And it is only and only whole sole purpose of cluster analysis is to classify your data into groups. That is it. That is it. It will not give you any further information. Okay, that which group is better, which group is not better. That we need to analyze as a researcher. Right? So this is how it is. Okay. So now you can form, and now you can find out the meanings of from this. So this was your factor analysis. So we were having 5 factors here. So they have divided, they have named these 5 factors. One was old, rich, big spender, family shopper, vegetarian TV lover, organic radio listener, or vegetarian TV and web hater. So these are my factor names. Okay. So this is cluster analysis. So now which factor belongs to which cluster, that also you can see. But this table finally will not give you much information. The only column I am interested is my which variable belongs to which cluster, so that I can take them for further analysis. That is the only objective of cluster analysis. Okay. So this is how we interpret the data of from component value. So cluster 1 is far from profile 1 and similar to profile 2. Cluster 2 is far from profile 5, okay, and not particular similar to any profile. It is showing you characteristics. So cluster 1 is closer to which factor? Cluster 2 is closer to which factor? Cluster 3 is closer to which factor? Okay, if I want to interpret any information from that, it can be inferred from. So this is the relation between your factors and clusters. Both are not same, both are different. Clusters and factors are different. There is no similarity between clusters and factors. So that we have to take care of it. They are not used interchangeably. They are altogether different. Okay. Cluster analysis is done for your respondents and factor analysis is done for your variables. So there is absolutely no similarity between these two. Okay. So which cluster to target? So objective is target the organic consumer. Okay. So which is the cluster that looks more organic? So you need to compute a descriptive statistics on the original variables for the cluster. Okay. Then you will find that which cluster is having what kind of characteristics. So that is my objective. So to take it further, if I say that one group, group 2, group 3, group 4, each group is having unique characteristics. Group 1 is different from group 2. Group 2 is different from group 3. Let us say you are having students from 4 states. So all 4 states students are in different clusters and they will be showing different characteristics. So cluster analysis is helping me to divide them into 4 different different groups. So one group is having same characteristic, but across the groups they are different. Now those characteristics of each cluster, how I want to utilize, that again depends on my objective, what information I need from each cluster, which I want to carry forward, which I want to discard. Okay, so all that I need to see from there. Right? So here you will see different color coding. So cluster number, okay, is given. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and these are the members or your respondents. So you are having totally 150 respondents. So who is belonging and where it is lying. So this you can see from this diagram. Okay. So which member belongs to which cluster? This is the diagrammatic representation. I was having 150 respondents. Out of that, these red ones belong to cluster 1. These purple ones belongs to cluster 4. Blue ones belong to cluster 3. So now, based on this diagram also, I can infer further. Let us say that this group is only lying between these two regions. Okay. And you see purple one, it is spread across. So the respondents are having different characteristics. So but once you go for the descriptive quality analytics, that time you will come to know that what exactly they are doing. Okay. So I will quickly show you how do we run cluster analysis. So I hope the data sheet is visible. Okay, so it's a very small data sheet focused only for cluster analysis. So here what I have captured, I will just show you. Name is there, age is there, memory span is there, IQ level is there, reading ability is there. Okay, so these are 4 things which I need to focus. Fine. So these are name of my respondents. 20 respondents were there. Okay, what is their age? So the if you see their age, they all are children. Okay. 4 year, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. So what is their memory span? Okay, then their IQ level and then their reading ability. So they have been given certain scores. Now I need to form cluster from this data. So I will go for analyze tab. Now I do not know how many clusters I should find. So first of all, I need to find out how many clusters I need to form. So this is the tab classify. Go see, you will see both the things here. K means cluster is also there and hierarchical cluster is also there. Getting it? So as I told you, when I do not know how many clusters, I will go first hierarchical cluster. This test will give me number of clusters I need to have. So first I'll click on hierarchical cluster. Okay. What variables I want to take from here? Age, short-term memory, IQ, reading ability. Okay. So this I can take directly, but it will not give me the result. Fine. So what I need to do here is that I need to first of all club them into variable factors. So first of all, I will go for dimension reduction. All of you have already learned it. Factor analysis, dimension reduction, factor. Take these same variables: age, short-term memory, IQ, reading ability. Okay. In the first session, all of you have learned it. So I'm not focusing much on it. Descriptive, initial solution, and KM1 Bartlett test specificity. These two buttons we press, continue based on IQ. Here are these methods. Okay. So, and then rotation, as I've already told, it's always very max because it will give you the most accurate results. And then scores. So here this will be unticked, but we need to do this. Okay, so save as variables. This is one step which we do not do in factor analysis, which we need to do in cluster analysis. Save as variables. Continue. Okay, options, nothing I need to do here. I'm not interested in factor analysis. I'm just interested how many components it has. Okay, so okay. In this sheet, I have already done it. So if you see here, factor. So already it was there. Again, it has come. So these are the factors. Okay. So two factors it will give you. Right. So two components or two factors it has given you. Now what we need to do is that we will go for cluster analysis, classify, hierarchical cluster. So this is one factor and this is second factor. Both I will be taking as variables. Right? What it has been saved already. And then we go for statistics. So agglomeration schedule will come. Plots. If you want dendrogram, it will come. Then method. Which method we are supposed to use? Tell me. So for here we will use this only. Okay. So as I told you, Ward's method we need to use here. So we will choose Ward's method. Okay. So we have done it. Anything else if you need to do, tell me. So we will, we are not looking for any plots here. So I will uncheck it. Plots I am not looking for. Cases and statistics. And I have chosen Ward's method here. Fine. So now I just need to click it. I hope all the controls are clear to you. Statistics, method, Ward's method we have chosen. Yes, okay. So our output window comes. So I will just show the output window quickly here. So this is the output window. So case processing. Okay, totally we have 20 sample here. Okay, agglomeration schedule. So now you see coefficients have come. Okay. So totally how many clusters we need to form here. So that we have to identify. So Getting it? So this particular column you need to paste in your Excel sheet, and then you will see how many you will have. So you see here it is very much clearly visible. This is the first with largest gap. So the elbow, okay, this is 22 minus 8 is how much? 14. Okay, so approximately 14 point difference is here, and here if you see the difference is 16 points. So here you have the largest. So the point, your elbow point exists here, 18. Total number of sample is 20 and the elbow exists at 18. So 20 minus 18 is 2, which means you are having totally 2 clusters. Okay, so again I will go to my SPSS. Now I will run the k-means cluster method, as we already told that once you have identified the number of clusters, again you go for analyze, classify, and then you go for k-means cluster method. What are the variables that you need to see now? Okay, k-means cluster method you see. So you need to enter two clusters here. Possible, yeah. So k-means cluster. So this is number of cluster I have put here 2. Okay, I tried and classify. Anything else? Here I do not need to save. So cluster membership, I need to know who belongs to which cluster. So I will, if I don't do it, I will not be able to know it. Okay, so cluster membership, and then options. So nothing you need to do here. Want to know cluster information for each case, you can click this tab, okay, and then continue. So what variables? So those 2 factors I will take, one, then okay. So this is how your cluster. So 2 clusters you have formed here. Okay, so if you see both the clusters are close to your profile 2. The cluster membership if you want to see. So case number belongs to cluster 2, case 2 belongs to cluster 2, case 4 belongs to cluster 1. So this is how your 20 members, which cluster they belong to, that we have identified. Okay, so this is the number of cases in each cluster. So cluster 1 has 9 members, cluster 2 has 11 members. So this is how we have done the classification of clusters. So that was about cluster analysis. Okay, I think it is easy to run. The only thing is that you need to understand it, how you are going to analyze these clusters now. So now we'll go for discriminant analysis. So discriminant analysis is basically you want to understand where we are using it. This is the kind of comparison between discriminant analysis. Okay, so ANOVA, regression, and discriminant, where they are same. So number of dependent variable is 1 in all the cases, and number of independent are multiple. But what are the differences? Nature of dependent variables, it is metric, okay, in ANOVA and regression, but in discriminant, it is always categorical. Okay, nature of independent variables, it can be categorical, metric, and here it will be metric. Okay, getting it? So for discriminant analysis, your dependent variable has to be categorical and your independent variable has to be metric. So this is how you need to prepare questions in your data set. Otherwise, you will not be able to run discriminant analysis in the end. So that is one thing which we need to keep in mind. Now, discriminant analysis is basically for analyzing the data when the criteria or dependent variable is categorical and a predictor or independent variable. Now, you will ask me why I am using it, why I need to discriminate. Let us say it's a very simple example which I used once. Let us say you are having you are doing online shopping from Flipkart, you are doing online shopping from Amazon, you are doing online shopping from Myntra, online shopping from different websites. So now websiter, these marketers, they want to know that are you my loyal customer, or you are just a customer or disloyal customer, or you will come back to my website, or you will think before coming, or you will surely coming, or you will never be coming. So this is how I want to discriminate my customers into these groups. So I want to discriminate between loyal and disloyal customers. Okay, so in that case, I will be using discriminant analysis. Now you will ask me, what will I do with this information? As a marketer, this information is of lot of usage for me, because I need to bring back those customers who do not want to come back or who are not loyal. What are the factors which they are looking for, which I'm not able to provide them? So this is how discriminant analysis is very important. If you look for HR surveys, which employee wants to stay back with the organization, or those who want to leave organization, so you can have the discriminant analysis in those scenarios as well. So objective or discriminant analysis, so development of discrimination function or linear combination or predictor. Okay, so this person is loyal or is not loyal, so I will frame a function here, and when I put the values, it will tell me whether this particular customer having these characteristics is a loyal or disloyal customer. Fine. So this is my discriminant function will tell me all that. Examination of whether significance difference will exist among the groups or not. Okay, if I say that female shoppers are more loyal to online shopping with respect to male shoppers, what is the evidence for that? Okay, my data, what it says, whether they are showing a significant difference or not. So discriminant analysis will give me the answers. Determination of predictor variables. Okay, who is contributing there? Evaluation of accuracy of classification. Okay. So we can frame two group discriminant analysis. We can have multiple discriminant. In majority of the studies, we go for two group discriminant analysis because it is simpler. In your MPhil and PhD also, if you are going for it, most of the time they suggest for two group. Okay, so multiple discriminant analysis generally we do not go for. It's quite complicated. The main distinction is that the two group case, it is possible to derive only one discriminant function. But in multiple discriminant analysis, more than one function will be computed. So it will create the complexity. So if you need to obtain only one discriminant function, you need to have only two groups. Okay, so let us say loyal, disloyal, right? Like that. And the first function has the highest ratio between groups or within group of sum of squares. And the second function will not show you any kind of correlation. So basically, in short, it is you should always prefer for two group discriminant function. So this is how a discriminant function looks. Here you are having one dependent variable. Okay, so it will have linear combinations. So more or less, it will be looking to you as kind of regression, but it is not. Okay, it is a discriminant function. So D belongs to discriminant score. These are just the coefficients or weights, and X is prediction or independent variables. You can have n number of independent variables. There is absolutely no limitation on that. But your D dependent, your dependent variable should only be one. That too will have only two categories. Okay, will you come back or not? That's it. Okay. So the coefficients or weights are estimated so that the groups differ as much as possible on the values of discriminant function. These are certain terminologies which we need to know in discriminant analysis. Canonical correlation. This is the correlation between scores and groups. Then you have centroid. So it is a mean value of discriminant score for a particular group. And then you have classification matrix. It is also known as prediction matrix. So what are your independent variables, on what basis you are going to predict that a person is loyal or disloyal. Okay. Then you have discriminant function coefficients, all your weights or B values. Okay. multipliers of your variables. Then discriminant scores, that is the value of your D. And then you have eigenvalue. So for each discriminant function, the eigenvalue is the ratio of between group or within group. You do not need to calculate all this, automatically it will be generated in SPSS, but we should know the meaning. What is the meaning of each and every terminology? So next is F value and their significance. So this is a calculated form of one-way ANOVA. Each predictor in turn will serve as a metric dependent variable in the ANOVA. F values, okay. Group names and group means and group standard deviation. So these are computed for each predictor for each group. So all these values automatically will be calculated when you are doing discriminant analysis. But our major focus is that how many people are falling into which category and on what basis we are discriminating. So discriminant matrix is important, discriminant score is important, okay, and D value is important. So these are further few terms, okay, standardized discriminant function, structure correlation, total correlation, and then Wilks lambda. So Wilks lambda is important here. So sometimes it is also called as the U statistics. So Wilks lambda for each predictor is the ratio of within group sum of the squares or the total sum of squares. So the value between 0 and 1. So this is how we do the discriminant analysis. First of all, you need to frame the problem in which you want to utilize this. Estimate the discriminant function coefficient. Determine the significance of it, and then you need to interpret the result and assess the validity. Okay. So this is the steps which we need to do for going to discriminant analysis. And, then we need to conduct discriminant analysis, estimated discriminant function coefficient, and then only you can form the discriminant function. So the direct method will involve estimating the discriminant function for all the predictors, okay, at a time. As I told you, one dependent variable, multiple independent variables, but with only two categories if you have, will be getting in one go. Stepwise discriminant analysis. So in stepwise, what we need to do is that you need to enter them sequentially, and you will be having n number of combinations for your predictor variables. So you will be having more than one discriminant function. So in SPSS, how do we run it? What are the steps? So very simple it is. Okay, we will go to analyze, classify, and discriminate. That this is the only thing. I'll just quickly get.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, are you open for question and answers?
Just a second, I'll just take 2 more minutes to just run the discriminant analysis. Okay, so this is the analyze, and then you go for classify, and then you go for discriminate. So here you can take a grouping variable as job. You need to define the range. So what we do here is that we go for data view. Okay, so here you will see which variable is having only 2 categories. You getting it? So job is having only 2 categories. So this is the only variable which can become the grouping variable, others cannot become. That you need to see. So this question has to be designed very particularly in beginning only. So I go for classify and discriminant. Table is job, and then independent I can take social, I can take job ID is not required. I out of define range. So minimum is 1, maximum is 2. Continue. Statistics, what all we need. Classify. So within groups, so whatever is given as it is, I'm taking it, not doing any changes. So, discriminant scores. Want to save. Predicted group membership. This is all optional. Show you the output. Here you see, totally you have 244, 66 are excluded. So sample size was 244, valid for discriminant are 178. So this is how they have been divided. Canonical discriminant function, eigenvalues, milk lambda is coming significant. So there is a significant difference between these two groups, which means these two groups are discriminant or different from each other. So see here how many people belong to. So group 1 85 and group 2 93. So totally 178 people. This is how I have discriminated these 178 people into two groups based on their job. This is how we run the discriminant analysis. So these two categories can be anything. Yes, no, loyal, disloyal, okay? Or will you refer us in future or not? So whatever basis you find in your study to discriminate, you can utilize it. So this is how we do cluster analysis and so this was all about whatever questions you have, you can ask or you can email me on my ID. I will just post my details in group. Just into one. Okay. Yeah. I'm done, Akam, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for a brilliant session. On behalf of Center for Management Studies, Jain Deemed to be University, I would like to thank Dr. Varsha Agarwal for giving us deep insights into the topic on cluster analysis and discriminant analysis. Definitely, your session is going to help us a lot. And again, we're sorry for the glitches that we had in the beginning. And thank you once again, ma'am. It was an amazing session. And I would also like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our director, Dr. Dinesh Nilkant, who always stood as a pillar of support. Also, big thanks to you all for participating in this session. And thanks to all the coordinators who are present here. Thank you, one and all. Have a great day ahead. And before leaving the meet, I would request you all to fill the attendance form, which is already being posted in the chat box. Please fill it.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Dear participants, with this we come to the end of the 4th day of our national level research conclave. Hope the sessions have been a great learning experience for both of you, all of you. And please, we request you to fill the feedback form at the end of the session. We'll end the session in a couple of minutes. Please join back us on the last day of the national level research conclave. That is tomorrow, 30th April, 2021 at 2 p.m. sharp. Thank you. Dear participants, please fill the feedback form. We'll end the session in a couple of minutes. Thank you. Dear participants, we are ending the session now. We thank you very much for being a great audience for this last 4 days. We wish the session for tomorrow, that is the ending day of the session, will be as enriching and as useful to you. We wish you a very good evening ahead. Thank you so much.